Great morning, beautiful people. Top of the morning, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Unplugged with Pam, Breakfast Club edition, where we not only just talk about growth, we walk in it each and every single day. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. If you're joining us once again, welcome home. I remember when I first embarked upon entrepreneurship and I was looking forward to listening to motivational things in the morning, starting off my day with some fire, with some positivity. So kudos to each and every single one of you guys that decided to start your morning off with some fire this morning, with some positivity. So you guys know I wouldn't be who I am if we don't talk about the obvious. So what am I talking about? If you, first of all, if you're brand new here and you're like, man, what are we talking about every Thursday morning and every unplugged with with unplugged with Pam podcast, you can always see not only where we are growing professionally, where we are growing spiritually, financially, where we can become leaders, entrepreneurs, the best versions of ourselves, amazing parents, spouses, the difference makers God created us to be. So whether you're joining us from home or office, or you're watching live or the replay, type a L if you're watching the live, type an R if you're watching replay. Well, I'm excited because today's conversation was obviously inspired. Maybe you're not a basketball fan. Maybe you have no idea what's going on. But today's conversation was inspired by something we witnessed this week and especially last night. One of the most, if not, I believe, the most incredible comebacks that we've ever seen in NBA history. I mean, the Knicks were down over 20 points, almost 30 points. The pressure was crazy. The odds were not in their favor. And in fact, many people had already counted them out, and yet they found a way to win. And as I watched the game yesterday with my family, I could not just but think like, man, there's still hope. There's still hope because they just had that fire. Like when you saw Jalen, like when he was just locked in, I just told my goddaughter that plays, one of my godchildren that plays sports, I was like, when I tell you to lock in and get your focus on, like that's the lock in that I'm talking about. That's the great lock in. When we talk about lock in. And why was this so inspiring? Because they were down and out, and yet they found a way to win. And I couldn't help but think about life, right? I couldn't help but think about my own life. I couldn't help but think about business because every single one of us has experienced being down. That's just the reality. Whether that's down financially, whether it's down emotionally, whether it's down spiritually, whether it's down in our confidence or our confidence, how you know I love to say, whether it is down in business, whether it's down after a loss, whether it is just because you are down after a disappointment. But here is what I know that champions understand. Being down is a circumstance. Being defeated is a decision. So being down, my note takers, because my note takers are history makers. Being down is a circumstance. Being defeated is a decision. Yeah, I know we always say decision. What does decisions mean if you're brand new here? Well, you kill off all other options. We take that word very, very lightly. But the reality is that when you kill off all other options, you get what happened last night. Down to 20, still won. The comeback mindset. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about. Why it's not over yet. Your setback is not your story. Your current situation is not your final destination. Don't confuse the transportation with the destination, right? And if God is still breathing in life into you, it's because he's still not finished with your story. If you have a pulse, you still have a purpose. So if you just grab your cafecito like me or grab your notebook and lean in, because this conversation, I think that is not only going to be something inspirational, but I believe that it can be transformational, because I believe that a bad quarter does not beat does not mean a bad game. Just like a bad day does not mean a bad life. So down 20, still won, the comeback mindset, why it's not over yet. And why is this something that I believe is important? Well, first and foremost, this is one of the things that I realized, and maybe we'll see in an interview coming up, but I don't think Jalen was checking the scoreboard. I think he like glimpsed at it a little bit in the beginning, and it was just like, all right, cool, I know what I got to do. And I think that was a great takeaway for us, because some of us, I believe that we start reading the scoreboard too early. And I think that that's one of the biggest mistakes people make, is evaluating their life just a little too soon. Just a little too soon. So, and what do I mean by that? Well, we look at one bad season, just one, and then we're like, oh, I'm behind, I'm late, I'm failing, because such and such is this. So, oh, it's not working. And the Knicks could have easily just been like, you know what? I could accept the scoreboard. It is what it is. But champions are relentless. Champions understand one thing and one thing only. The scoreboard only matters when the game is over. That's the only time the scoreboard matters, when the game is over. And many people, I believe that they're even listening today, that are just allowing temporary circumstances to define permanent identity. So what do I mean by temporary circumstances to define permanent identity? Maybe it can be a job loss. Maybe it can be a mistake you made. Maybe it can be, the scoreboard doesn't look in your favor right now. Whatever it is that you find yourself looking at, maybe you're navigating bank account balances, maybe you're even navigating health challenges, which are not to be taken lightly by any means, way, shape, or form. Maybe you're navigating relationship struggles and deciding who you are based on where you currently are. But I believe that God never defines us by our current circumstances. He defines us by our calling. That's why I always say your calling got to be greater than the circumstances. Your calling has to be greater than the current situation. And, we could talk about so many entrepreneurial setbacks. We could talk about my caregiving journey. We could talk about so many things, so many times building something when nobody, absolutely nobody understands the vision, right? Seasons where it just looked absolutely impossible. And I tell you, one in particular, when I found myself in the space, and it was crazy, right? Because as my mom got diagnosed with stage 4 stomach cancer, simultaneously, my business was going bankrupt. I was transitioning, moving as well. It was so many different things going on. There was so many different parts. One of my friends had a stroke at the same, like right before. And it was like so many little things that were just preparing my faith. It was so many little things that were just preparing me. And when I look back at it, I'm like, man, that was really what that was the entire time. But I thought in that circumstance, I was like, you know what? It's cool. My mom's going to be healed in no time. We're going to do the chemo. We're praying every morning. We're praying every night. There's no way she's not going to get healed. Well, God just decided to heal her in heaven versus earth. That 9 months, I saw the power of me realizing that the calling was bigger than the circumstance. But when she got called home to heaven, and I thought that I was not even going to survive in that season, let alone thrive, I realized that there's so many things that you will think that will not, like, your life is over. Like, because I felt like a part of me just completely vanished into thin air. But I also understand that the calling is greater than the circumstance, that the purpose is greater than the pain that I was feeling in the moment, and the pain that you still feel, and you just get better in when you are actually in it. And one of my favorite books, you guys know I always reference Tim Grover, Relentless, Winning. And in the book Winning, he talks about how winners, we don't need external validation whatsoever. In fact, why? Because we don't need proof before we actually move. We move because we know who we are, because of whose we are. And I believe, just like Grover said, that winners, we operate differently because we do not allow the circumstances to dictate our identity. Period. And yes, I think that's powerful because too many people need evidence before they're believing. Ask yourself, where right now in your life are you like, you know what? I need some evidentiary support before I decide to mark this up as a win. Like I need to see it before I actually believe. But champions, we believe before seeing. We believe the same way faith works, right? Faith without works is dead. But we see it just like we walk by faith and not by sight. But a bad quarter does not mean a bad game. Just like a bad day does not mean a bad life. Just like a bad moment does not mean a bad situation. And it's all about perspective. And one of the things that I love that they did was you just saw the shift. You saw the shift. And I believe that that shift happens, that comeback happens when the excuses just stop. When the excuses just stop, and because most people, they want different results, but they're not willing to put in different kind of work. They're not willing to develop different habits. Everybody wants a comeback, but what are you willing to do for comeback work? You know, as I consult clients and corporations and entrepreneurs and mentees, and I absolutely love it because, you know, I deal with so many different variety. And as I build community, I mentor people from 18 years old all the way to 80 years old. And there's one thing that always, no matter who you're talking about, that it just resonates. It's your mindset. It's your mindset. And then you have some people that are like, man, I've tried certain things and I've tried all these businesses and I've tried all of these things and they just don't work. Well, did the business not work? Or did you not work on your stinking thinking? Some people are like, oh, you know, those people need a break. Those people brainwash you. Well, some of us, our brains need to be washed. Just saying, it's been a lot of stinking thinking. There's been a lot of trauma. It's been a lot of negativity. It's been a lot of things that you kind of we need to rewire. We need to rewire that thinking. And you know, one of the things when we talk about like that, being able to do the relentless work, right? It's the coolers, like Tim says, it's the coolers, which is the average performers, right? We got the closers, who are the people that finish, but then we got the cleaners. And the cleaners, we are the elites, honey. We are the rare few. We are the people that show up no matter what. We are the people that don't need the motivation. We're the ones that don't need no applause. We're the ones that don't need no external validation. We're the ones that are going to execute regardless of our feelings, right? Shout out to my boy Marco. No feelings. I always have this in my office because I'm a girl. I'm emotional sometimes. I'm just saying, I'm just a girl. Right? But the reality is that you can feel your feelings, just don't stay there. Feel your feelings, because on the other side of that is freedom. But when you are in that state and you really sit there and you ask yourself, am I waiting until I feel like it? Or am I committed regardless? Am I waiting until I feel like it, or am I committed regardless? Because the comeback begins in the moment that your commitment becomes stronger than your excuses, that your commitment becomes greater and stronger than your circumstances, that the calling over your life, that the calling, that vision, that dream is greater than the temporary state, than the temporary circumstance, than the temporary emotion. Ask yourself I had to ask myself as I was actually preparing for this morning. I'm like, man, what, where in your life have I been negotiating with myself? Where have you been negotiating with your health? Where have you been negotiating with your business? Where have you been negotiating with your prayer life? Where have you been negotiating with your personal brand? Where have you been negotiating with your relationships? Where have you been negotiating with your content creation? Where have you been negotiating with your leadership, with your business, with your calling? Where have you been negotiating with your gifts, with the tasks that already were given to you? The future, your future you, your future dreams, your future, our futures, period. They don't care about how we feel today. They just don't. So when you ask yourself and you're like, man, wow, all these things are great. Well, here's what I do know. We hear all the time, like, oh, pressures makes diamonds. Well, I believe that pressure doesn't break champions. On the contrary, it reveals them. Many people spend so many time, and I remember because I'm people, right? I was there too. You're praying for bigger opportunities. You're praying that, bigger opportunities bring bigger blessings. But here's what we fail to realize, that bigger opportunities also bring bigger pressure. Bigger opportunities also bring greater and bigger stewardship requirements. Bigger opportunities also require bigger leadership, bigger responsibility. Pressure is not punishment. Pressure is preparation. Pressure ain't punishment. It just depends, again, what your perspective is what you're looking like. And when you hear like, oh, diamonds, pressure creates them. Elite athletes, pressure creates them. Leaders, pressure creates them. Entrepreneurs, pressure creates them. The most iconic, historic, pressure creates them. It doesn't matter who you're talking about. One of my favorite Bible verses is like, consider it pure joy, right? Whenever you're dealing with trials, because you know that the testing of your faith develops perseverance. So when I look back, and I was just talking to a friend about this the other day, and I was like, man, and I'm telling her, I'm like, I know the situation looks crazy right now, but remember your history with God, right? So when I look at so many different situations that have brought immense pressure, whether it's curating an event, curating a trip overseas, right? Like I remember that part like almost a year ago. Like little things could change, and you feel so much pressure in the moment, and you think that you're going to explode, and you're like, well, how am I going to change this? What's this going to look like? Because right now, but you can't stop. You got to get it done. You know that it's not over until it's over. And that's the mentality that you have, because you're like, well, this pressure ain't going to break me. I'm going to see what's on the other side of it. And anytime, and it's not to say, oh, when those situations happen, like imagine this, right? Imagine and I'm going to give y'all some tea while I'm drinking my cafecito. Now you're like, she's drinking with a straw? Yes, I am. Imagine you are, and this was last year, me hosting a trip, right? I curated this experience to Fajardo, Puerto Rico. So when we get there, the hotel was absolutely incredible. So great. I love that. One of our great partners. But, people be peopling and things that happen in the Murphy's Law. What can go wrong will go wrong on the wrong day. So, last minute, literally last minute, 24 hours before the venue. Mind you, this is a theme trip that I'm hosting, a theme retreat where we're not only in Puerto Rico, but we are in a city that I've never like I've had fun in, I've spoken in, I've done business in, but I don't really know anybody there. You know what I mean? It's not like the states that I could like really move around how I need to. Well, just so happens that one of my friends that is a comedic rock star, him and his beautiful wife, I'm hosting this. Shout out to Justin and Ashley. I'm hosting this trip, right? And with our community, it's over 80 of us here. And I'm hosting this comedy show in Puerto Rico. Well, the venue decides at the hotel that it was a no-go 24 hours before the show. 24 hours. Now, again, I'm showing y'all just one out of a million things that cause pressure in my life, right? In what I do. But you go on the gram and you see the video and it looks like it was a time. Well, champions adjust. Well, I had to go check out some venues. I went to the city hall. I went and I asked them if I could rent out their venue. I went ahead and I rented. I put the deposit. I was like, oh, we need to get a bar. Had some of the girls. That's why you need to have great people around you, community around you. Had some of the girls become the bartenders. Had other people come help me. People that got there early didn't know that they became the volunteers. They helped set it up. Like we completely made that room look like a show. And it was a sold out show, standing room only. I mean, absolutely incredible. His first international debut in Puerto Rico. I'm not telling you that to boast or to brag, but I'm telling you that a lot of times things look pretty from the outside and they look pretty on the gram, but you don't know what kind of pressure went on behind closed doors. So these things are never easy, but pressure exposes who it is that you truly are, because you don't become something new under pressure. No. You reveal what's already going on inside of you. So when people be like, oh, no, it's because of the situation. Like I give grace and I give empathy, but I also know champions adjust. I also know pressure is just going to show me who it is that you are. And when we think of, the fourth quarter belongs to those who stay. Championships belong to those who stay. Most people quit too early, not because they're incapable, because they're tired, because they're discouraged, because they're frustrated, because they're impatient. I could think about Joseph in the Bible, in prison, forgotten, betrayed, rejected, all of these things. I could think about David, an anointed king, years spent running. Imagine being chosen and still having to wait, trying to be persecuted. I could think about Jesus. Oh my goodness. Even in the disciples thought that it was over. Friday looked like defeat, honey, but Sunday changed everything. Never make a permanent decision in a temporary season. Never make a permanent decision based on a temporary emotion. At any moment, things can change if you believe that they can, if you're willing to put in the work. Because I'm going to tell you, momentum can change in a moment. One call, one interaction, one meeting, one conversation, one introduction, one prayer, one opportunity, one conversation, one act of obedience, one simple thing that it was too hard for you to do yesterday that you just made a decision to say, I'm going to do it today. One simple thing that can completely change the trajectory of your life, of your future. There's so many times that I said, you know what, man, I don't know what this looks like right now, but I'm just gonna wait. I'm just gonna take it a step at a time. And I still know, but I just knew that I had one yes from God. One yes from God was going to outweigh a million no's from man. One yes. That's all I needed was one yes. And I think of in business, and I deal with clients and I deal with mentees where sometimes it doesn't matter what product or service they're offering. I get this all the time. It's like, oh, my friends, they're not supporting me, so does it mean that this is not what I'm supposed to do? I'm sorry. And I'm not trying to call your friend a monkey, but one monkey does not stop no show. I'm just sorry. Like, what God has blessed, no man can curse. We have to take ourselves out of this space that people owe us something, because they don't. They don't. And I remember when I first embarked upon entrepreneurship, that I somehow thought that because I was the supportive and loyal sister friend, that all of my friends and all of my family members were going to support me. Do you know how much that hurt my feelings? And you're not talking to the same personally developed and spiritually developed Pam. You understand? So I burned a lot of bridges. I got so bitter. But then I realized they were not saying no to whatever I was offering. They were not saying no to me. They were saying no to themselves. And if for whatever reason it wasn't going to happen, it was okay, because nobody owes you anything. And you got to get to this place of, you have to be unapologetic about your assignment, unapologetic about your conviction of winning, unapologetic of saying, you know what, it is fourth quarter. It don't matter what the scoreboard look like. It don't matter what the bank account look like. It don't matter what the business look like. It don't matter the transgressions. It don't matter the mistakes. It don't matter. What matters is where I'm going moving forward. What matters is what I'm doing today, one foot in front of the other. That's it. One foot in front of the other. You don't gotta have everything like, oh my God, it gotta be perfect. No, because nobody is perfect. But when you talk about one decision, it's just one. It's just one decision for you to start. When I remember the first time I ever read the book Winning by Tim Grover, and he was talking about how winners just stay ready, because opportunities rarely announce themselves. They appear suddenly. So you stay ready, so you don't got to get ready. The question is, will you be prepared when yours arrives? That's it. Will you be prepared when yours arrives? And when you think of, again, it was such a beautiful historic comeback. But when you think of, man, you were built for more than survival, like, that reminded me of that last night, right? Because so many people are just surviving right now. So many people are just living quiet lives of desperation, paying bills, managing stress, getting through the week, getting through the month. But God did not create you to merely survive. He created you to thrive. He created you to live a life of overflow, a life of abundance. He created you to lead. He created you to serve. He created you to impact. He created you to multiply. He created you to build legacy. So if somebody tells me like, oh, I as a believer, when I said, listen, I know I'm made in the image and likeness of the Most High King. Not fear, not limitation, not mediocrity. I know in the image that I'm made of. So when you ask yourself these things, maybe you need to write some of my daily affirmations down. Maybe you need to say some of these things to yourself every morning. I am not a quitter. I am not finished. I am not disqualified. My setback is the setup for the greatest comeback. I am chosen for greatness. I have been set apart. God is still working. My gifts still make room for me. My vision can still come to fruition. God has already authorized my victory. I am equipped for my assignment. I am right on time for what God has for me. I am called. I am capable. I am chosen. I am becoming the best version of me. Today is going to be a phenomenal day. But say it with conviction. I'll tell you, our comebacks, and I say ours because it's not just yours, our comebacks require faith. They require believing before we actually see. They require discipline, doing what needs to be done even when we don't feel like it. They require consistency, showing up repeatedly. They require patience in trusting God's divine and perfect timing. They require courage. They require for us to move, even with the fear. Fear means nothing more than false evidence appearing real. It could tell you forget everything and run, or it could tell you face everything and rise. Jalen did. Whoop. It means being obedient. It means following instructions even when you don't understand them, even when we don't feel like it. And as we wrap up, I just want you to identify an area where you've accepted defeat, an area where you've allowed the scoreboard to mess your head up in the game, to make you think that the game is over. I want to challenge that belief, because I believe that God is not finished. I believe that your story isn't over. I believe that maybe that season is ending, but that doesn't mean that you're done. I believe that you're one prayer away, you're one conversation away, you're one breakthrough away, you're one relationship away, you're one meeting away, you're one phone call away, you're one act of obedience away. The scoreboard may say you're down, your circumstances may say it's impossible, people may have counted you out, but trust and believe God is still betting on you. We are still counting on you. And God has history, and there's historical evidence of taking what seems impossible and making it possible, taking those situations that seem like you have been defeated, like everything is lost, and making you victorious as the champion you're called to be. So maybe you're like, you know what? I'm tired. I'm done sitting on the benches. I'm done sitting on the sideline. Well, we're building a championship team. Maybe you're the person that's like, man, I just need some strategy, whether it's business or coaching. Maybe you're the person that's like, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I need to change some things, whether it be with my systems. Maybe I need something different. I need to pivot. I need to build wealth. I need to have fun, freedom, fulfillment. DM me the word coach, and let's get together. As always, it is my pleasure, honor, and privilege to serve you guys. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Unplugged with Pam, Breakfast Club Edition, brought to you by Chosen Global. Make sure you guys are subscribed on all streaming platforms: Spotify, YouTube, Apple, Amazon, Buzzsprout, you name it. As always, great day and God bless. Much love, y'all. It's not over yet.